G'day guys, this is FCT. The OnePlus 7T Pro. How does it handle in 2021? This has been my daily driver for so long that I have a bit to say about it, so buckle up. The OnePlus 7T Pro is the younger sibling of the venerable 7 Pro, sharing most specs and receiving only minor improvements. So basically everything I say about the 7T Pro also applies to the 7 Pro. This was released in October of 2019, back when OnePlus was still spitballing about how they wanted to release their handsets. This was the year that they decided to split into a standard and a Pro range, and also launching each into different regions. Up until that point, OnePlus devices represented top spec internals, paired with a few cut corners in order to hit that really sweet spot. But with the Pro range, this was left behind, being relegated to the vanilla series. The most notable feature of the 7T Pro and the 7 Pro is, of course, the screen. Paired with the slogan, "Go beyond speed," made to really show it off, being one of the first few phones to offer a high refresh rate. Even by 2021 standards, this is still a brilliant canvas to show off the fluid 90Hz refresh rate, 6.67 inch, 1440 by 3120, 19.5 by 9, completely uninterrupted, notch and hole punch free, crisp, beautiful display. It's still an excellently executed device and one of the few that still offer the benefits of a full front display and a high quality selfie camera. Now this is a feat that even now is still being worked on with the under display camera technology, with the current implementation either sacrificing camera quality or screen quality or both. Many at the time criticised that a pop-up selfie camera adds unnecessary moving parts that add an extra point of failure. While this is true, it's now been 2 years and there doesn't appear to be a common issue online, with my own still functioning just fine, popping its little head out once a month when I accidentally hit the change camera option. Now the hardware here is still good, but being only a 2-year-old device shouldn't come as that much of a surprise, with the annual performance increase of new chips slowing significantly recently. Featuring a Snapdragon 855 Plus paired with 8 gigs or 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage, this is solid even compared to releases of today, lacking only in graphical grunt. Suffice to say that it feels like phones lately are now powerful enough to last a good amount of time without getting bogged down. Less than only 5 years ago, while I was carrying an LG V20, the biggest reason I wanted to upgrade was system lag and things really starting to feel like they were getting slow. Now, these days, it feels like my biggest reason to upgrade is software, first and foremost, with performance being secondary. Kinda why the upcoming Pixel 6 has me so interested this year. The reasoning is that the software here is still decent, but after using it for so long, you start to find little issues that open up your mind to the other options out there. First is the ambient light sensor and the auto brightness setting, working in tandem to pick up ambient light levels and your own preferences to try to give you that perfect screen brightness. Now, I don't even remember a device that seems to have gotten this so wrong before, like the 7T Pro, as I have to be manually correcting the brightness just about any time I'm focusing on something. Even worse, you can crank the screen brightness right up and 10 seconds later the system will just reduce it back down again. There's also a not infrequent amount of times where I'll be looking at a web page and the brightness will just be bouncing between 10% and 50%, just on and off for a good amount of time. Now there are claims around that this is due to how the brightness has learnt your own preferences, and that can be reset and retrained. Unfortunately, when I reset this and retrained it, it eventually just settled back to the exact same result again. So the software and hardware combo here seem a bit off. Now secondly, and not a surprise to anyone who might have seen my OnePlus 6 review, the RAM management on Oxygen OS is too aggressive. Even with 8 GB of RAM on my device, Why does it need to be so proactive in killing background apps? What's the point of having any amount of extra RAM if you can't use it? You can get partway to a fix by turning off power optimization for each individual app, and apps can be locked into RAM via the App Switcher UI. This is all you can really do though, and while it should work, the amount of times I still have an app reload, even ones that were supposed to be locked into the RAM, it's absolutely bonkers. Apps like Plex, Facebook and Chrome are my biggest culprits for being reloaded after such a short period. It's odd though, as sometimes I'll have a random app that I used briefly hours ago. When I load it up again, bam, it's popped out of RAM in the state it was. I don't know why it sometimes holds on to some apps over others. Background apps are even worse, where even with power optimization turned off, apps like Tasker and DNS 666 still sometimes get kicked to the curb. Along the same vein, even simple notifications are frequently delayed with the email or messaging app that's been killed, more so since the Android 11 update. It's not uncommon to get notifications up to 30 minutes late. Don'tKillMyApp.com acknowledges this too, with only Samsung getting a worse rating. All in the name of extra battery life? I'd love to one day see the intelligent optimization actually work out how an app should be used and hold on to the ones that you want it to. Thirdly is software updates on the 7 series, which started out pretty swiftly but has since gotten pretty lax. When Google launched initiatives like Project Treble and Project Mainline in an effort to get devices updated quicker, and seeing OnePlus come out with beta testing of new Android versions so soon after being launched, it seemed like we might be finally getting on top of this whole update thing. Sadly, this only seems to apply to current model devices, with older ones getting a response from OnePlus something like, "New phone, who dis?" For example, Android 10 launched in September of 2019. The 7 series got it in October. 6 weeks. It's not too bad. Android 11 launched in September of 2020. Now the 7 series didn't get it until March of 2021. 6 months later. Android 12 is expected to launch in October of 2021. And while nothing is announced, there are reports that in China, the 7 series will be getting ColorOS 12 around mid-2022. I would expect this to be similar, if not sooner, than the global model, which would still bring us to at least 8 months later. Now, the updates that the 7 series has received have also missed out on features. The most infamous being the always-on display, which OnePlus previously announced would be coming to the 7 series. It was then launched in the beta channel for Android 11, and then it was dropped from the stable release, and now it's been advised that it will never progress beyond that. Now, other than the nitpicking, the software is actually pretty good. Oxygen OS is still fast and efficient, even after the Android 11 updates straying further from stock Android. It does everything you want well, with some thoughtful additions while still keeping the bloat to a minimum. Software is only one aspect of a phone though, and even if there are issues, a device can really shine if it's on a solid hardware foundation. And the hardware here is certainly solid. From the beautiful display and pop-up camera to the minimal camera bulge on the back, this is a classic. The gently curved display won't be to everybody's tastes, but I haven't had too many issues with unintended touches myself. I would always prefer a flat display though, as it has made replacing screen protectors horribly expensive. Needing to pony up for a new UV glue variety each time it breaks or gets too scratched, as cheap adhesive ones just don't work properly. The haptics aren't up to Apple or Samsung standards, but they are at least reasonable, no longer the wet noodles of the past that they used to be. Stereo speakers are also good, making media consumption on this glorious screen that much better. It's a bit unfortunate that it's a downward firing variety, but it does get loud and is of a decent quality. Now, I'm also not a fan of the industry trend for glass-backed phones, but I get that it helps with signal transmission over metal and allows including wireless charging, which unfortunately is missing here. It's also extra slippery, but this can be fixed with a case or a skin, so no big deal. Charging speeds, like many Android devices, are good. Needing a proprietary Warp Charger 30T to get full benefits is not all that surprising, but just about any power delivery charger around will give this juice at a decent rate. Now, I'm still a frequent overnight charger, but I do really appreciate the extra boost that a 20-minute charge offers these days. And finally, camera performance. Vastly improved compared to previous year's entries, but it is still lacking compared to the competition. When well lit, this does a great job of taking pictures of my pets, because honestly, who is even going outside these days? I really appreciate the 3x optical zoom, as sometimes you have to get those doggo pics fast and from across the room. I do wish it had a 5x or more though. Using the OnePlus camera app does give reasonably easy and decent results, but it's not nearly as refined or as smart as Google's. So swapping over to Gcam yields far better shots. Sometimes stability is the trade-off though. So if you go by time spent on likes and dislikes, you might guess that I don't think too much of this device. And that couldn't be further from the truth. For a device that's been my companion for so long now, and for an OS that's so often praised, I feel like enough people don't call out the little things that really affect how you feel about a device day to day. I love the hardware that is on offer here. It's a really solid device, and I would recommend it to anyone who could pick it up for a reasonable price. It's only the software that is really starting to let it down a little bit. But software can be fixed, can be adjusted, patched, or even replaced. So while I would recommend this device to anyone looking for the best, full, uninterrupted display out there, I will also be looking to see if it can be improved upon, if the grass truly is greener on the other side when I try a different OS. Now, I will of course report back when I have the answer to that question, so be sure to subscribe for that. Let us know in the comments how you feel about OnePlus devices. Give us a like if I did alright, and I'll catch you in the next.